I just want to give thanks to the Friends of the Library for donating our refreshments tonight. And I want to thank all the candidates for coming just by being here tonight. You're participating in democracy, a hugely important role in our town and state and country. Thank audience members, just the same. Thank you for participating, and those who are watching on the recording. So, without further ado, I will turn it over to our moderator, Representative Bob Harb, who will take us through the evening.
Thank you very much. And before we start, can we all rise? I'd like to ask us to please join with me in a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to thank Dean Zanello for helping tonight, and he wanted me to remind everybody, these mics do not sound in this room. The mics are only for the cable. So you need to raise your voice enough so that everybody in the room can hear you, and he'll adjust the cable volume. So don't wait to hear yourself back. You're not going to hear yourself. So I'm going to read the rules. I'd like to thank all of those that came out in tonight's weather. And because of the weather, we're going to, as we say in the house, move things along, because I know people will want to safely get home. But I thank you for taking the time. So these are the same ground rules we've had the last few years. They seem to work, so we're going to do it again. Every candidate will have 60 seconds to introduce themselves.
Oh, wait a minute. Let's make it
To
30.
carry on? Do you want to take a vote? Second. I'm going to introduce my timekeeper and my assistant moderator, Daryl Britton, who, if you don't know, he's the memorial in the Plaistow and dedication. It's dedicated to Daryl. So when you pick up your report, you'll see Daryl's picture. Congratulations, Daryl. Daryl told me he turned the page after his picture, and like 9/10 of the people that got the dedication are deceased or moved away. I said it's a good he's in the top 10, so it's okay, and he well deserves it for all that he's done for the town. Congratulations. Each candidate has 60 minutes to introduce themselves in
60 minutes?
seconds. Okay, seconds. I had no place to go. And tell why are you seeking your office. Then we're going to have some questions that came from the community, some questions that I took from prior years. Then remember, I was told to remember, nobody will be allowed to make personal attacks. They're not permitted. And please respect each other and watch your speech. Candidates, we're going to take turns moving back and forth on the line. And then you have 60 seconds to answer a question the candidate before you had to answer. And you'll have 60 seconds to give your final speech. So everything's 1 minute. You don't have to use the minute, but if you go over, you're going to hear, that's it. You're shut off. The mics will be shut off, so good luck tonight. Thank you. So first, we're going to have that first minute of introduction, and I'm going to start on my way at the end of the table. Ryan LeBrecq, we're going to start with you, and then we'll move down the line. You have 1 minute, each candidate, to introduce yourselves. Go.
Hi, I'm running for both the school board and budget committee because these two roles shape the future of our town and the tax burden on every family. Many residents don't realize how much power they hold as citizens of New Hampshire. Your vote and your presence at deliberative session directly determine what we spend and how much we pay. This year alone, between the town and school budget increases, taxes on a modest home are expected to rise by about $1,500. For homes over $500,000, that increase can reach $3,500 or more. And when escrow accounts adjust, many families will see their monthly mortgage payments jump by $125 to $300 a month. This isn't sustainable for 1 year increase. At the same time, our district has over budgeted and overtaxed us by $31 million in recent years, while still claiming financial strain. More than 350 school district employees live here, and they reliably turn out with their families to support higher budgets. If other taxpayers don't show up in equal numbers, the cycle continues. I'm running to bring balance, oversight, and accountability back into the process.
Thank you, Ryan. Next.
My name is Larry Glidell. I'm actually a write-in candidate for school board budget committee. The reason I'm stepping up is I'm a father of 3 children in the school district. We moved here in 2021, and what I've seen from my children has been exponential education through the school system. We hear a lot of rhetoric that schools aren't doing well, that standard testing, his scores are way down, and it's more than just a standard score. I understand that people want to pay less. Or people don't want to pay more. I don't want to pay more. But a hack and slash approach to budgets is not the way to do it. It's going to be disruptive to our schools, more so our students. We have 700 kids on IEPs in the school district. That is the equivalent of the middle school. So we have to do a little bit better by our kids, but we need to do better by our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Hi, I'm Shauna Manthorn. I am currently running for another term as a school board member. I've been serving since June 2022. I grew up in Plaistow. My husband and I both are Timberlane alumni. I have 2 children, one who struggles with a learning disability and is on an IEP, and a child that excels academically and in sports. So we see a healthy mix of how a variety of needs in education are needed in our community right within our own home. I'm also an occupational therapist, so I have worked in public schools and understand the impact of everyday real-time decisions and how they impact students. But I'm also a taxpayer and absolutely recognize that we need to be very mindful of providing our students with exactly what they need with a very responsible, balanced budget. And so I am looking to run for another term to continue some of the work that's already been done.
Thank you. Next.
Hey everybody, I'm Bob Kincaid. I'm running for the 3-year term on the school budget or the school budget committee. I've been here in town since 2013. For most of that time, I've been very active with the Boy Scout troop. Last 5 years, I've been the Scout Master of Troop 18. One of the things we encourage and teach our scouts is both service and citizenship. So just trying to do my part and both serve and do my part to understand what's going on. Specifically with Timberlane budget, at a high level, I think it's fair to say that I support local education funding. I've generally been aligned with the decisions of the recent budget committee members who in late 2025 voted 6-0 to approve an $88 million budget. That budget represents level services, but an increase of 7.1% over the budget approved a year ago due to increased costs. I recognize the difficult...
Thank you. Next.
Hi, my name is Marianne White, and I'm running for the 6-year term of supervisor of the checklist. There are 3 supervisors here in town, and I'm excited to join that team. My hope is that we can increase the number of voters who are registered in the town, as well as how many people go out and vote in each election. Personally, my family and I have lived here for 20 years. My husband and I have a daughter who went through the Timberlane School District. She went through the CTE program through the high school, and she's now in nursing school up in Maine. So excited to get involved in the town, and I hope everyone takes this time on Tuesday to go out and cast your vote.
Thank you. Next.
Richard Leclerc, current planning board member, going for re-election. Have a lot of experience in this field for many, many years in developing. I have to say that the board that I'm on is amazing. The people that are on that board are knowledgeable, smart, and do the right thing for the town and the applicants, including myself. There's no hidden agendas here. We do the right thing.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, and thanks for coming out tonight. My name is Dolores Coyle-Quirk, and I'm looking for, I'm seeking a position on the Board of Trustees of the library. I am a resident of Plaistow. We've lived here about 20 years. We raised 3 wonderful children, all graduates of Timberlane, and I really appreciated the library and everything it had to offer our family. I retired last year after working as a teacher for 20 years right up the road here at Pollard, and I certainly took advantage of the library as a teacher as well as a parent. As a teacher, I taught my kids, no matter what age they were, that the most important thing that I was going to be able to give them was to help them become a good reader and to help them learn to love reading and to be a lifelong reader. And I see kids now, and I get so excited that I see them still coming to the library. Supporting literacy has always been more than just a job to me. As an educator, I see how important supporting literacy can be. It can open up many doors. I can see how literacy leads us to advantages. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're going to get into the questions, and the first person that's going to answer this
Moderator,
is,
I have a statement for my other, I'm running for 2 positions. Budget committee and school budget committee and school board.
go ahead.
Thank you. When we talk about school spending, it's important to look at the numbers honestly. Some districts in this country operate a per pupil cost of around $9,400. Timberlane is spending more than $22,000 per student. New Hampshire spends 234% more per student than Idaho, yet our NAEP scores in reading, math, and science are only 1 to 3% higher in comparison. I understand there are differences between states. I'm not suggesting we could ever reach $10,000 per student, but it's fair to ask whether we should expect better results for the level of spending we have. A request was made at one of the meetings for information on inverse relationship between school spending and student performance. There are many studies across the country showing that higher spending does not automatically lead to higher proficiency. That's not an opinion. It's a pattern that has been documented repeatedly. These are the kinds of questions we need to be willing to ask if we want a school system that is both effective and sustainable. Thank you.
Larry, I think you're up for 2 positions. Did you want to say something about your other
Second
position?
wave, Mr. Moderator, so I will wait for that position at that time.
You'll wait. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
we're going to start with the questions. The first question, Larry will answer first and then go to his left, and we'll go all the way around and end with Ryan LeBruck. This is a question that can be applicable to everybody, so I think it's a good question. What do you see as your roles and responsibilities for the position you're seeking? What do you see as your roles and responsibilities for the position you're seeking? So that would apply to all of you, but we'll start with Larry, and you might repeat again what position you're speaking for the home audience.
So again, Larry Glidell, 1 year school budget committee, and so the role of the school budget committee is not an auditing function, but more of a guidance function. And what that means is you take a look at the line items that are being presented and you challenge those presenting them. You look for status quo, you look for things that are long-running projects, making sure that they have fiscal responsibility, certain maturation. Are they classifying spend appropriately? Is it OPEX or is it CAPEX? Are you getting certain ROIs on projects? You know, are you doing multi-vendor biddings? Is there any single bidding? So when you go out and you're not just giving somebody the job because they've done the job, right? You go out and get better than market pricing. That is the type of view that the school budget committee needs to do.
Thank you. Next.
Oh, you got a new timer.
What's that noise?
In regards to being a school board member, I feel like, and I'm done.
I guess your time's up.
Move things right along.
Start again.
Okay. In terms of being a school board member, in terms of roles and responsibilities, there's several, but most importantly, I think I personally feel the role is within driving decisions that are student focused. Are we spending the money, and is this going to impact students? Are we creating a policy and overseeing it, and is it going to impact students? And also, you know, overseeing decision-making in the SAU and administrative building, but supporting them in making good decisions by creating and developing policies that are reasonable and equitable across all the contexts. We've got K through 12, lots of different age groups and students. But most importantly, I think the other responsibility is to listen to the taxpayers. I've been contacted countless times from members of the community to hear their side on certain discussions, and it's been really helpful for me to see their perspectives and be able to go uphold that.
Thank you. Next.
I recognize the very difficult position that Plaistow and other towns across New Hampshire find ourselves in. Costs are rising, and in order to maintain level services, it has unfortunately been necessary to make hard decisions. So as far as rights and responsibilities, I'm prepared to listen carefully, engage respectfully, and ultimately make decisions that I feel balance the need to adequately fund education while also minimizing the impact of rising costs to the taxpayers as much as possible.
Thank you. Marianne?
Thank you. As supervisor of the checklist, we make sure that all of the state rules are followed to ensure that everyone that is eligible to vote can register to vote and is on our voter registration list. The supervisors also manage the registration list to make sure that it's accurate, that people are added or taken off as appropriate. And then they also run the voter session. So that includes the deliberative sessions that some of you also went to in January and February. You know, what I'm excited about for these roles and responsibilities is really getting the word out that people can, the most important voice that you have is your vote. And I'm really hoping that we can work with citizens to be sure that everyone signs up to vote and then also goes to the polls and votes, votes in every election.
Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, as a planning board member, the bottom line is to be fair to the applicant and the town. Everything you do has to be to the simplest, but yet adhere to the town rules and regulations. But it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. And we've actually proved that lately with a lot of the stuff we've done, where it's like, well, do you need a new site plan review? No, you really don't. You just need to do X, Y, Z, and we're really good at that. It's not, there's no hidden agendas. It's just try to make it work for the simplest way possible. Doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Doesn't need to be super expensive. Just meet the guidelines. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If it works, it works. And if you need to go to ZBA, then you do. So our job is very, very clear. It's very clear. Just get it done if it can be done, and don't overburden the applicant unnecessarily, which I've seen in the past and other boards I've been on. So it's just, we try to work very, very well with the town people, and we do. And that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Thank you. Dolores?
Thank you. Well, as a member of the Board of Trustees, I feel my role would be to make sure that the library is offering services that the town needs and wants. And I have a passion for reading and a passion for kids. And I've dedicated a good part of my life to it. Now I'm retired, so now I want to see how can I use my skills and really help our community. There's a tree at the end of this parking lot that was planted some years ago with my 5th grade class and the Plaistow Conservation Committee, and they dedicated that tree to me. I left with the kids. When they saw my name on the plaque, they said, "Is this where you're going to be buried?" And I said, don't worry about that. I have my own plans. But as a teacher and working with the community, the Conservation Committee has been great. We've planted many of these trees around here and around town. But now, not that I won't continue to work with the kids, but I want to be able to really make sure everyone's getting what they need from the library. And as a resident of Plaistow, I understand taxes are going up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'll respond for both positions. No need for 2 responses, Mr. Moderator. So, I feel that we need balance on both the budget committee and the school board. And right now we have a lot of folks that are, for lack of a better term, insiders, which is fine. They might have worked in the school system, other school systems, have been former teachers, administrators, whatever it may be. I'm the opposite of that. I'm disconnected from the school system. And my goal and my role, I feel, is to represent the taxpayer. And that doesn't mean slash and burn, as others have indicated. It means making decisions efficiently to reduce costs where we can, and make difficult decisions that may reduce staff in other areas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Larry, you started this, so the next round will start with Shauna.
Got that timer ready?
And the question for everyone, which you have to apply to the position you're seeking, is currently, what do you think the most important major issue is facing you if you were elected to that position? The most important major issue facing you if you're elected to the position you're seeking?
Ooh.
It's a tough one.
Uh-oh, my timer's going. Okay. I mean, I take this in 2 different contexts. I don't know if it's me personally or in terms of like our community. So I'm going to go sort of from the personal angle. I've had the opportunity to serve on several subcommittees as a school board member Wellness Committee, which is about nutrition, physical activity, and the requirements from the state that we have to uphold to make sure that all of our students are getting what they need. I've served on the Policy Committee, where we're developing policies, but also using New Hampshire School Board based association laws that we're trying to then implement into, how we actually enact them in our district. I've also served on several of the union negotiation terms. And so in terms of the most difficult thing for me personally in being on the school board is I think I need to expand my horizons outside of my knowledge role and challenge myself.
Thank you. Bob?
I think the biggest issue is going to be how do we maintain level services without further reduction in staff. So last year there was a fairly significant reduction. We started the deliberative at about $89.6 million, ended up the deliberative at $82 million, and that was ultimately approved by voters. That was about a $7.5 million reduction. The net result is 36 positions, of which 4 left due to attrition, 22 were vacant, and unfortunately 10 actual humans had to lose their jobs as a result. It was said that they wouldn't, but they did. So I don't want folks who are actively working in our school to help to educate our children to lose their jobs. This year, the committee made some really hard decisions. Ultimately, even though the budget goes up because costs go up, salaries go up, budgets go up, these things are baked in. But what's baked in right now is 21 actual humans, as of now, as I understand it, are potentially going to lose their job next year. So how do we mitigate that going forward?
Thank you.
Reduce that.
Marianne?
Thank you. I think one of the biggest challenges of the supervisor of the checklist is to get people to come out and actually vote. We have about 5,300 registered voters-ish, 5,500 registered voters in this town, and we have a handful of people here today. Now, yes, there is a snowstorm, so I do understand that. But in our state, in our local elections, like we're going to have next week, we typically have about a quarter of our registered voters come out and vote. General elections are much larger, but these are the elections. The one next week which is going to help you with your tax rate, which is going to get you involved in what's going on with your school system. So in my hope is that we can get more people to voice their vote and come out and make a difference in our own town.
Thank you. Richard?
On the planning board, it's a difficult question because we're working on a lot of things like the master plan, which is proceeding going forward. We're looking at traffic quieting on Main Street and other areas. There really is no big hurdle that's currently in front of us. I mean, it is what it is. We deal with it week to week, and there's nothing crazy going on. It's just you just got to do what you got to do. Just get through it. So there's nothing crazy, but there is stuff that's going on, and we're working on it, and that's all we can do.
Thank you. Dolores?
Thanks. Well, obviously, one of the big things is watching out for the taxpayer and not, incurring more taxes for them. And I know that's kind of been the theme here. But in addition to that, at this library, we still want this library to be a wonderful resource for this community. We want this library to stand out as one of the prize places of Plaistow. And we want people that come to Plaistow, move to Plaistow, live here, be very excited about having this wonderful library. And it is a wonderful library. We are so fortunate. And we're very fortunate to have the friends that help support the library and, the officials from town that oversee our budget. And so I think that clearly I will want to make sure that we're providing programs, but also make sure that we're not incurring more costs. And hopefully, we can look at some other avenues to generate money instead of looking, for our town for the money. But the library has changed a lot. From even when I was in school, it's not a book lending building anymore. There's a whole lot more to it.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge it's very clear. Convincing people that spending more money isn't necessary and doesn't produce better results. There's this mindset in our society at every level of government that more spending is better. It's led us to $39 trillion in debt nationally. It's led us to overspending locally at the school and the town level, and that's unfortunate. We have to make difficult decisions. the school system and its employees. It's unfortunate if people lose their jobs. That's the way life is. I've lost many jobs over my career. We put our boots back on and find another job. We can't just keep doing the same things for the sake of doing the same things and having the same results. So it's unfortunate if people lose their jobs. They will survive. They will be fine. I'm not cheering for that. I don't like that, but we have to do something different.
Thank you. Larry?
I think if I was elected, the major issue, two issues I would be facing is one is driving sustainable costs. Look, like I said previously, nobody wants to pay more, but we also have an opportunity to provide fair and equitable access to education. There's plenty of opportunities at other schools. This school district does not have a CTE. There's there's amazing opportunities for the school district to get funds from other schools and bring that inward. Also, transparency. Look, there's a lot of sentiment out there that bad information, embezzlement, insider trading, and all this stuff is going around that people are hiding money. Right? We need somebody in there to go in there as fair, not tied to the schools, not looking to hide the details, but make sure the numbers get out there and people are actually actively consuming that data and not consuming bad information that's being populated out in social media and elsewhere.
Thank you. Before we start the next round with Robert, I want to remind those here, if you have a question for this panel, you can write it on a card. I think they're over there. Oh, they're over here. And then pass it in to my assistant, and he'll give them to me. Based on time, we may not get to everybody, but the cards are here and pens if you wish to write down a question. So while they're doing that, we'll go to Robert. And the question for everyone, but starting with Robert, would be, what would you like to accomplish in your position if elected? What would you like to accomplish in your position if elected? Robert?
I'd like to maintain an adequate budget that maintains level services while being fair and respectful to the hardworking people of the district. So as mentioned, I'm not completely opposed to staff reductions if that ends up being the case. For last year, there was ultimately 10 people. This currently year, we're potentially looking at up to 21. Those are hard decisions, but like I said, I want to minimize those things. Some of the things I want to look at in particular that I'd be curious about, I don't know if studies have been done, but I am curious. There's a lot of talk about administration. There's a lot of talk about vice principals. I'm just curious to know if studies have been done because I'd like to know the information myself. And I'd be curious as a member of the board to understand, where do we stand in Timberlane relative to other districts in terms of administration overhead, in terms of vice principal overhead. Are we right in line, or are we roughly, is that potentially a place we could look? So not saying one way or the other, just saying I want to understand that better.
Thank you. Marianne?
Yes, thank you. The current supervisors of the checklist do a great job. What I'm really interested in is getting involved in more of the education, letting people know what rules have changed, making sure they understand what they have to do if they're new to town, what documentation they need to vote and to come in and get registered to vote. And then I would love to be able to partner with the library and other places in town to do events to make sure that people understand how they can register to vote. Make sure that their party affiliation is correct or what they want it to be, and make sure that they understand that their vote is their most important voice.
Thank you. Richard?
On the planning board, I wouldn't change a thing. It's amazing. The people I'm working with are amazing people. I wouldn't change anything. And most town people have no idea how well they work together. And it's for the town's benefit and the applicants. I just don't, it's a fine working machine, leave it alone. It's fantastic. And these people do a great job, and we all volunteer. So it's we're giving our time for the town. So I wouldn't change a thing.
Thank you. Dolores?
Well, I want to learn. I want to learn and be connected to the community And I actually was asked to be on the search committee for the director. And I was really nervous at first because I didn't know much about it. But I found it just to be such a wonderful group of people that are clearly there to support the community. And they've been so accepting of me and encouraged me to run. But and they said they want some fresh ideas and someone new to come on. So I know that, I'm not going to be able to live up to fill your shoes, Jen, but I think you've done a great job all these years. And I think that I will have some new ideas and someone from the community as well. I'm very excited, but I've got a lot to learn about the library, and I think I know the community and kind of bring those two together.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I think it's clear to me. We have a spending problem. We need to reduce costs. We need to reduce non-teaching staff by 30%. If they're in the classroom, we support them. If they're not in the classroom, we need to slash. We are top heavy, and it's costing us way too much money, and the community can no longer afford to pay for these substantial increases on a yearly basis. I think beyond that, that's a lofty goal, obviously. I think a lot of people are opposed to that because it's doing something differently. And that's always shoveling against the tide. But that's me. I operate shoveling against the tide. I'm an alternative for the taxpayer. We can have status quo, or you can have an option that looks out for your personal finances. And if you support that, vote for me.
Thank you. Larry?
I think ultimately I would like to target a year-to-year reduction in spending, right? Anywhere between 2 to 5%, but doing it tactfully and understanding, where are those areas of improvement? Are we looking at the capital projects correctly? Are we single sourcing vendors and contractors? How are we managing contracts? Looking at how we increase revenue. Like I said, if we bring a CTE to the school district, we bring an opportunity to bring funding back into the school. And what are we doing to get more money from the federal government and the state government through grants and loans? And are there private corporations that we could partner with to supply new computers, to bring new technology and help drive new opportunities to school? So it's about challenging that status quo and thinking outside of the box.
Thank you. Sean?
What I hope to accomplish is to challenge myself as a board member in terms of areas that I am aware of but don't feel strong enough in, including facilities and budgeting, mostly related to how schools are funded at the state level. How can we as board members get involved with local community, statewide organizations that go to the House and make the decisions and figure out a solution, not overnight, but a long game solution to how we're going to fund our public schools appropriately, so that the burden is not on local school districts and taxpayers to give our children what they need.
Thank you. Robert?
Did I start this section?
Yeah.
Robert.
You second chance and you don't want it.
Good.
The next question, and we'll start with Mary Ann. If elected, and for the rest of you, if re-elected, what do you think in the coming term you're going to bring new to your position? What are you going to bring new to your position?
Well, the supervisors of the checklist are really bound by a lot of rules, so I'm not sure if I can change a lot of rules on the state level through this local position. But as I mentioned before, I would like to have a larger presence in our community. Getting out into community events or partnering with different organizations to make sure people understand not only the documentation that they need to be able to vote, but also, changing their party affiliation or understanding how to cast their vote. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Richard?
Absolutely nothing. Because I give it all, 100% all the time. There's nothing new. You get me and you get all of me. I plan my vacations, and these guys know me. I go to Florida constantly, and I plan them around the dates of the board, so I'm here. So nothing's going to change.
Thank you. Dolores?
Well, I want to bring some new ideas to the board. As I said, want to learn what they've done and what they've done well, but our library needs, our community needs continues to change. And again, I said the library was a book lending, and now with the digital world, that's really changed a lot. And we need to continue to look at that and continue to look what are the needs of our community. And I think can bring a lot of connections, or bring the kids from the schools here more and work to set up even more programs with them. But there's a lot of other people in the community, and I think we need to continue to work to make it more intergenerational here at the library. And I think the programs that have been run are wonderful, but I want to bring some new ideas and increase that those numbers and types of programs as well. Again, while we're still keeping the budget and making sure that we're thinking of the taxpayer.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, there are a lot of individuals that are in the school board, school budget committee that are student focused, and I will not be student focused. I will be taxpayer focused. I will challenge everything. I will probably be a disruptor. I may make things uncomfortable, but I think that's where we're at. And I'll be countered and balanced by those that are focused on the students. We have plenty of people that are, and they won't get lost in this process. But we can still be student focused and still challenge and question. I make database decisions. I have an engineering background, so I'll look to data, and I will relentlessly question everything until I understand it. And I admit I won't fully understand everything from a school perspective because I'm not an insider in that space. But I feel that my perspective can be valuable. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
I think what I would bring is a fresh cup of perspective. Just like Ryan, I'm not tied to the school. I don't know the inner sanctum and how it works. But what I do know is I'm held accountable to an executive level in my private work to 3 to 5% budget rank. I oversee a $72 million budget at work. I oversee over 200 people. Right, that day job, I have to look at every detail. I have to look at microscopic to macro level type spend. I do risk management. I have to look at trajectories. I have to understand how things are working and where those opportunities to challenge the status quo and look at different ways and drive my colleagues to think differently and how we can operate differently to make a big difference in how we operate. So,
thank you. Shauna?
I'm really hoping to work on the word opportunity. And by that, I mean opportunities for our faculty to participate in professional development in areas of which the district is underachieving. There is concern about, standardized test scores. I am in agreement with that, but also I'm carefully using the word student achievement because there's other ways to measure success outside of a standardized assessment. And so creating those opportunities for our teachers to explore those areas, but also opportunities for students to explore growth in other areas if they're a non-traditional learner. Larry's mentioned CTE, which we contract out with a couple of other school districts, but there's a lot of opportunity and talent within our district to bring things there. I'm a supporter of full day kindergarten, so that would be another opportunity for some of our youngest, most vulnerable members of our community to start their education and their love of learning early, and opportunities to hear more from the community and get engaged more with folks that don't have people in the schools. Maybe your kid's aged out. So, opportunity.
Robert?
It's a tough question because we all come into it wanting to do our best, wanting to learn, wanting to engage, wanting to really deeply understand the issues and the challenges. So as I've thought about this, I've really tried to wrap my head on what do I bring that's different that maybe somebody doesn't have. I've got 2 boys right now, juniors, that are in the school, and they spend half their day over at Salem. So they are involved in the CTE program that we partner with them for. One of them is in the education program, and the other one is in the IT program. One of them is going to be an ambassador for that program this year. So I've got some direct experience and knowledge with how that program functions and what it works, how it works. So that might be something that's unique that I would bring a perspective, having 2 children in that program right now who go to a different school. I know that also going forward, there's going to be potential talk about changes to the way education is funding and allowing our students to go elsewhere or have other students come in. So that's going to be an ongoing conversation that I feel like I've got some direct experience with. that I might be able to bring some insight to.
Thank you. Next question, I believe we'll start with Richard. This question may not apply to the position you're running for, but once I was a member of the panel and they said, well, answer it anyways. So I'm going to tell you, do the best you can to answer this question, but the citizen was kind enough to show up tonight and ask this question. Basically, this citizen is saying that we have a problem with violence and safety in the United States. In the position you're running for and the board that you may become elected to, do you think there's anything that you can do for this community to make us safer? It's kind of a tough question.
Yeah,
but you really have
that
to
doesn't really
think
apply
about
to me
it.
at all. But we did actually have a meeting fairly recently where we had to shut it down to the public because of a possible assault. So we did shut it down and escorted people out individually. So I guess that's the only thing I can tell you. It actually happened. There was no assault, but it was pretty close.
So you had to deal with it.
Yes. You do what you got to do. So that's planning board. It's very rare.
Dolores.
Well, again, a tough question, but I would say, first of all, let's make sure the library's safe. And let's make sure that people,
I want to see what my question actually was before he's answered it.
Okay.
so I think that would be where I would start, and working with the board and the town and looking at, make sure these rooms are safe. I see the sign not to keep the door open, and I was thinking more for security. I guess there's another issue why we want to keep the door. But I think that people need to know they can come to a library and feel safe. And whether it's a child coming after school or coming with a parent or an elderly person, we want to make sure that not just safety in a larger sense for the community, but that the chairs are safe, the building is safe, what we use in the building is safe. I guess that's where I would try to focus.
Thank you. And we have 4 school-type candidates here, so maybe you can relate your answer to the school. We'll start with Ryan.
Sure. I think the first thing we do need to do from a safety perspective is make sure our district is properly screening staff before they bring them into the schools and expose them to the children. We've had multiple recently staff members removed from the system. Very little to no explanation has been given as to the parameters or why that happened. But it seemed clear that there was also background from other districts that they did the same things in other places. So how we don't screen for that appropriately is beyond me, but I think that's the first place. Second, I think we need possibly more discipline within the school system itself. I've heard, again, I don't have kids going to the system, but I have heard and read other accounts of 100 accounts of violence in the district in the last this year alone, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but we need to discipline students and make sure that they are properly facing the things that they are doing.
Thank you, Ryan. Larry?
I think in regards to the budget committee for the school, it's ensuring that we have the adequate systems and buildings and facilities in place. If you've taken a tour of the facilities, you'll see that there's walls coming down, there's water leaks, there's potential HVAC issues, ensuring that those are maintained properly. Adequate security systems. My background is security, and I can tell you now, the school's contracted with a security company that is currently under view of the SEC and could lose their licensing. And if we don't pay our bill, they scrub all your video camera footage and you lose access to your cameras. That's a huge risk to me, and that's something that somebody made the decision to make that change from one provider to another without having that knowledge. I think the other thing is having adequate training opportunities for staff to understand and recognize incidents. And, as Ryan had mentioned, how do you build a better program in screening backgrounds? I know in my job, I have to take a background check and a core check every year. It should be the same for the ones that are working with the most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you. Shauna?
I think I'm going to approach this question from a context of what I get asked about safety as a school board member most frequently, which is, why can't I find out anything about safety online about the schools and what the safety plans are? It is to keep our children safe. That information cannot be posted online for anybody in the world to go find, read, and determine that they can make decisions with that. But I do encourage folks that are here or in the audience to directly communicate if you have a student in a building with a principal on the phone, or if you don't, but you're a community member, to contact SAU and ask to speak with the superintendent or the assistant superintendent, who will inform you about safety requirements, policies, and procedures. There is a safety committee at the school that it encompasses all of the building administrators, additional folks in the district from facilities, as well as our local police and fire departments representatives that work together collaboratively to make best decisions and provide trainings to faculty and students on keeping themselves safe in the building at all times.
Thank you, Robert.
So I think in terms of outside safety and inside safety, for outside safety, we've got a resource officer who's staffed at the schools. I believe whenever the school's in session, that officer is right there. God forbid if anything were to happen, he would be able to access quickly. And as far as internal, the danger from the inside would be potentially, a student deciding he wanted to be do something bad. So in that case, I think what's necessary is just keep an eye on the kids and watch for any student who's showing any danger signs of potentially being a danger to other students around them, and also having good policies in place to monitor and provide support for kids that need additional support. I think something else that came to mind was, again, going back to the scout thing. We have a policy in Boy Scouts where you're not allowed to. It's a very firm rule, and we all kind of reinforce this against each other. There's no one-on-one contact, so you never have a scout leader that's alone with another student. I don't think that kind of policy necessarily is in effect in schools, but that's also something that churches do. I don't see why I think it would be a little bit more difficult potentially to implement, but I don't see why a school couldn't have a similar type of policy.
Thank you. And Mary Ann, this kind of strange for your
That's
position.
all right. I have a
Give it a
response. The supervisors of the checklist, they run the voter sessions that we have in town. So they work very closely with the Board of Selectmen. They work very closely with the Plaistow Police to make sure that we have safe and free elections. And that won't change if I join that team. I'm very pro election, and I want to make sure that everyone has a safe way to vote. So, yeah.
Thank you. And here's a question specifically for those candidates on my far end who are running for school committee. And you may not know, but there's a House bill in the legislature, Bill number 1804, which suggests to lower the number of SAU administrative units from 100 to 12. And this citizen wondered, how do you feel about that? Getting a lower number of SAU units. Who would like to answer that on that? Go ahead.
Go for it, Sean.
Thank you. I personally think it's a very bad idea. Our district has a lot of needs every day on a regular basis, and our SAU are fully involved in crisis management in terms of, activities and things that are going on in the building, and to serve the thousands of students that we have in the district now, dividing that up into decreasing the number of SAUs, which means you're increasing the number of students that they serve. I don't think our students and our families are going to get the individualized attention and support that they need in real time to help support their students. And I just think that it's not a good idea. It's not effective for our community members.
Thank you. Ryan?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I think we are bloated. We have way too much staff. There's one staff person for every 5 attendees in the school system, I believe. I think the number was that came out at deliberative. And we are too heavily weighted in administrators. I think that all of these districts are similar, and that we've created a lot of work to fill a lot of positions, and we need to look and be much more efficient and reduce the number of SAUs, whether it's 12 or 20. 100 is way too many, and I feel there's too much overlap in staffing and costs, and that can be reduced significantly, which would reduce our overall cost and allow us to focus on educating the children instead of administrating the children. Thank you.
Thank you. We caught everybody running for school committee,
School board, yeah.
school board. Okay. So, Mary Ann, I don't know if you're able to answer this question, but one of the citizens wondered, with the requirement to prove citizenship, what can you do to make it less burdensome for those that have to bring in all the information when they're registering to prove they're a U.S. citizen?
Yeah, I think, the supervisors of the checklist do a great job keeping up with all of the regulations that change sometimes from election to election. This year, we have 3 elections that, the supervisors have to manage and make sure that they're following all the rules and regulations. I think, again, getting information out and having an educational campaign of what documentation they need to be able to prove citizenship. And doing that in different varieties, making sure that we have information in writing. Maybe we have some kind of visual guide to make sure that people understand what type of documentation can be used for each of the, sections of eligibility that they have to show, and make them understand that they don't necessarily need to bring in, 10 forms of ID, that, your license, if up to date, could probably, help you with some of those eligibility requirements. So my hope as a new supervisor is that I'll be able to help the rest of the team, provide the town with the education they need to, as they're going to the polls or even before the polls, making sure they understand what they need to register to vote.
Thank you. Now I have a question for the school budget committee candidates. I believe that's Ryan and Robert. We'll start with Ryan. The question is, do you believe the budget should be reduced? And if you do, where do you think you'll make a cut?
It absolutely should be reduced. It has to be reduced. It's unsustainable. People won't be able to afford their taxes much longer. It's affecting Plaistow a little less than other towns, but reductions have to happen. Where? I've already said it. I think we need to reduce the administrative staff by 30% immediately. We need to look at other ways in order to provide similar services for less money with the same result. Bless you, by the way. And question everything. We have to dig in. We have to make difficult decisions, and staffing cuts are one of those. We have reduced student population, and staffing continues to go up, or stay level, or not come down commensurate with that. It's time to make some change, right size the ship, and get this thing on a sustainable track so that we can adequately educate students, prepare them for their future, and not drive their families into bankruptcy. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert?
This is a tough one. So I think this year, basically, in order to produce a level funded budget, the proposal was a 7.1% increase. So level doesn't actually mean level in terms of money. Level because of the baked in costs that are embedded in the system, because of additional baked in cost of living increases and benefit increases that are going to come just from the staff that already are employed. It becomes very difficult to reduce the cost year over year. I think that I share the goal of reducing the size of that curve. So potentially, instead of it being 7.2, how do you get it down to something like a 5%? It's a very difficult thing to do, in my opinion, without looking at staff. But I think it's worth looking at doing. I'd love to see a reduction in healthcare costs. However, that's a difficult thing because that's not something we control locally. I'd love to see a higher percentage share come from the state. I know there's lots of proposals that folks talk about. New Hampshire is very proud of the fact that we are an income-free state. So I wouldn't advocate to my state representatives that that's necessarily what they want to do. However, I do think that they should seriously look at that because there's potentially ways to increase revenue from sources that are from outsiders, from folks coming into New Hampshire to visit. So there's potentially other revenue sources that could help.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Monroe, if I may have my turn. The reductions, I think reductions do need to happen. I think reductions need to happen across the board, both on the town and the school level. Where it comes from, that's the challenge, right? We have to have appropriate levels of staffing in the classrooms. We need to have, as you just said, the cost of insurance, right, is extremely inflated within the the unions and within the staffing. And so how do we get that under control, right? It goes back to better negotiations, working with those that are at the negotiating table, ensuring that they're equipped and knowledgeable of what's going on. I also think the practical investment of capital projects, right? Just because it's nice to have a brand new facility, is that the right thing to do? And taking a look at opportunities across the board and saying, where can we steal money from Paul to pay Peter and make sure that, we're not doing a lot of harm in the funding.
Thank you, Larry. So now we're at the time in our program for closing statements. We started with Ryan. So this time, Dolores, we're going to start with you, and then we're going to proceed to her right and go the other direction. You all have 1 minute for your closing statement. Dolores?
Thank you. The library has evolved into a place where patrons come together and build stronger community ties, and I want to be a greater part of this. I recently served on the search committee, as I mentioned, for our new library director, and I found it intriguing to learn about all the things the library does to serve the community while still watching, our budget. As a library trustee, I'll work together with the members, the staff, and the selected town officials that oversee the budget to ensure that we continue to be responsive to the ever-changing needs of our community while still maximizing the taxpayers' dollars. Between my careers in education, I worked for a large communications company, and I worked in upper management, so had a lot of experience with finance. And I certainly understand the importance of being fiscally responsible, especially at a kind of the financial pinch that we're feeling, like many of our neighboring communities around the state right now. So I think I will come to the library if I'm elected, and I'll add value by really continuing to make sure that Plaistow's most vital cultural and community resource provides services that are above and beyond what the budget can provide and is proactive in meeting the needs of our community as we move forward. Thank you.
Richard?
Yeah, I don't have any big speeches. I just do what I need to do, and I will continue to do so. Just an FYI, I only missed one meeting this whole past year due to a death. All right, I'm here tonight. I'm running unopposed. Didn't need to be here, but I wanted to be here. I wanted to be in the public eye and just talk about whatever needs to happen. And like I said, the board is amazing. We do a great job. I can't say anything more than that, and I just want to continue to do so.
Thank you. Marianne?
Thank you. I want to thank everyone for coming here today in the snowstorm. It's wonderful that you're involved in our town, and I really want to get more involved in our town. We've been here for 20 years, and I have served for many elections as a ballot clerk. So I know, a very, very small level of information that I need to know for supervisor of the checklist. But I'm excited to learn, and I'm willing to learn everything that I need to be a successful supervisor of the checklist. I also, just think it's incredibly important for people to use their vote for their voice. It's so important for us to make sure that we have that right and we continue that right. And I'm just excited to work with the community to make sure that everyone understands how to voice, how to use their voice to, make our town better.
Thank you. Robert?
Like sometimes if you follow debates or discussions on Facebook, you see that it seems like people seem to fit into like this side or this side on an extreme. And I don't think that's the case, at least with me. I really do feel like I'm coming into this with an open mind. I really do want to, I don't feel like I fit neatly into any one box or another. I do support education. I do support teachers. I do feel that in general, our staffing is in the right place. However, I'm also very open-minded to the idea of looking carefully at administration, looking carefully at vice principals, making sure our ratios are correct, and really looking at every possible place we do spend money. So I don't think anybody were to put me in a box and say, oh, I'm a spend guy. That's not the case. I'm going to be looking at how we can control the budget adequately while also maintaining services. So in order to do that, as I said before, my intent would be to listen carefully, engage respectfully, and ultimately make decisions that are in balance. So that's my goal.
Thank you. Shauna?
Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight, and thank you to the library for inviting all of us to be here. I'm looking forward to your vote to continue another 3-year term on the school board. Progress is not linear. Sometimes it's a little slower and lower than we would all like in terms of budgeting, in terms of laws and legislation, in terms of student growth and achievement, in terms of reaching goals to reduce budgets or healthcare costs or negotiation terms. But I'm committed to be part of that progress, as slow or steady as it is, and listen to our community members and our voters that contact me and communicate with me to bring me their perspectives. I have said yes to a lot of things that are student focused and led, and I have said no to a lot of things that are detrimental to students because it was more fiscally responsible to make that decision at the time for the betterment of the district. I always say that education is one size fits no one. Every child has a unique individual circumstance, family, and need. And so I continue to remain committed to sit there for another 3 years and listen and do my best to make those decisions in alignment with what's best for most kids most of the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry?
So I'm running because Plaistow deserves a thoughtful financial oversight. It's not about politics. It's not about ideology. It's about what we can achieve as the collective. I think having fair, open dialogue is what's needed. We need to have more transparency. We need to have more disciplined, data-driven decision making, and not just go with what we've been doing is the right thing to do. Challenging the status quo, bringing new opportunities, new thinking, thought processes is really what this town across the board needs. Schools are one of the anchors of our community. I've talked to a lot of constituents that they bring their families back here to bring their kids up through the school district to have the same experiences a lot of you've had. This is something that is near and dear to my heart because I got 3 young children. And when I die, I want the pictures of my kids in my casket because that's what I know I've contributed to in this. By stepping up and helping the schools and understanding what we can do for our community, that's where we need to be as a group. We need to work together, need to be respectful, and get things done collectively.
Thank you. And Ryan?
Similarly, I have 2 closing statements. First one, a recent comment at a meeting stood out to me. The idea that we should provide today's children with the same opportunities that we had. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But when we look back at our own school experience, those opportunities didn't come from layers of administrative staff, constant technology in front of every student, or expensive facilities. They came from strong families, strong teachers, focused classrooms, and learning the skills that prepared us for life. If we truly want to give students what we had, then we should be willing to re-examine what we've added over the years that hasn't improved outcomes. Excess staffing, distractions like Chromebooks on every desk, smaller class sizes that haven't moved the needle, etc. Refocusing on what actually matters for career readiness and life skills is how we honor that goal. The spending patterns we have now are not sustainable, and they aren't producing the results our students deserve. It's time to take a clear, honest look at what works and what doesn't, and make decisions that put students and the long-term health of our community first. Thank you.
Thank you. How about a round of applause for all these candidates? Thank you all candidates for participating. We're now going to take about a 5-minute break so we can get ready for round 2. And thank you again for coming.
Figured you were gonna run.
The school board needed to be.
I thank all of you that are here that remained, because I'm afraid to look out the window and see how the snow's doing. But we appreciate you all being here. And just to remind this round of candidates, we're going to have a minute of introduction, a minute to answer every question, and a minute in your closing statement. So we'll start first with our introduction, and we'll start on, again, my far right. David will go first.
All right, thank you. My name is David Kowalczyk, and it would be my honor to serve you on the Town Budget Committee. I retired after a military career of 21 years and moved to Plaistow in 2022. I married my sweetheart, and she is a town resident. Her family's lived in town since 1988, so very pleased to be here. It's right where we want to be, and we've got 3 kids. 2 of them are in the school district, and we are having an awesome time here. So I want to serve the community. I want to apply some of the things I learned in my military career, managing budgets, and my post-military civilian career. I'm used to tight budgets. I'm used to having to squeeze a dollar. And, part of keeping this place awesome the way it is going to be balancing, keeping the costs down, but also doing all the great things that we do around the community. So I would look forward to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry.
Larry Glidell, as I previously said, for most of you already heard me, Plaistow deserves more fiscal responsibility, more transparency. I had the opportunity to fill in a vacancy on the budget committee last year, and it was really good to see how the sausage was made, and I've got some great ideas on how we're going to improve this process. There's a lot of things that we hear throughout the town, bottom dollar this, bottom dollar that, but there has been no substance of how we get to that number and how do we get these department heads to provide us the details. And so, if I were to be elected, the first challenge I have is our operating model, ensuring that the department heads come speak to us, ensuring that we're getting to the bottom dollar, understand, is that spend the right spend, and what are the alternative options for that spend? Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
My name is Chuck Fowler. I'm running for a 1-year budget committee position. Lived in town for 36 and some odd years. I was involved with Scouts for 15 years. I was on the budget committee in 2014, but I had to resign because of family issues. And I would like to serve the town again. Just like find out, like you said, where all the budget comes from. Make sure all of the department heads do come up and to talk to you like they used to do back in 2014 when I was on the board. We need to get that. And the biggest thing is with the budget is insurances. I mean, everybody knows all over the country the insurances are so high. So try to find out if we can work insurances in or something like that. Like I said, I'd like to serve the town again. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Many of you know me as the fiscally conservative guy in the room, but most of you don't know the full story of who I am or why I care. I grew up in Maine, played hockey, earned degrees in building construction and construction management. My career has taken me across the country building major facilities from high-rise buildings, semiconductor plants, data centers, and military hospitals. Today, I lead a team responsible for managing the costs and contracting of $9 billion in cloud data center construction projects throughout the country. Numbers, budgets, and cost control aren't just interests of mine, they're my day-to-day profession. I moved to Plaistow in 2012 and married my lovely wife in 2021. We are grateful for the life we've built here. I'm not running for these positions for myself. My family will reluctantly absorb tax increases if we have to. I'm running because many families in Plaistow can't. With an average household income of $109,000, more and more residents are living paycheck to paycheck. They're working multiple jobs and struggling to stay afloat. These are our neighbors, and they deserve a voice that keeps their challenges in mind.
Thank you. Jay?
Good evening. Thanks for being here. My name is Jay DeRoche. I've had the privilege of serving as a selectman for the last 6 years. I want to continue that, and I'm running again. I believe public service is something everyone should do. I enjoy it, and I'm always looking and working to do what's best for the town and its residents. So I just want to continue to do that. My wife and I have been here for most of our lives, and we're very invested in this town, and I'm just always looking to do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing isn't an easy choice, but I appreciate the opportunity to serve the town again. So,
Thank you, Jay. And now for the first question, and we'll start with David. You have 1 minute to answer it, and then we'll go to David's left. If you believe that the town budget should be lower, how would you lower it?
So first, I'd start. I'd apply some market research tools that I've learned over the years, and look at other cheaper ways that other communities provide the same services. Look to benchmark us to other communities. Price reasonableness determination is what that's called. In the workplace, I'm used to using a Lean Six Sigma approach, which basically is how you map out a process and figure out how to do it more efficiently, and see what fluff there is to cut out. So I would basically use tools that I'm used to using, and see what can be cut, see if it's appropriate to cut it, and then of course listen to the residents and see if this even meshes with what people want, with services that are needed and that sort of thing. It's a balance, and that's what I'd look to do, is balance.
Thank you. Larry?
I think the first thing I would look into is unilaterally aligning our expenditures, finding out that each building has separate power bills, separate cable bills. If we came to the providers and said, give us the best bang for our buck with a single contract for all facilities, I think that would make more sense. I'd also look at adequate staffing, looking at our fire department, police department, ensuring that there's no overtime because of open positions, and ensuring that we're having the right level of people in those positions. The other thing I think we should take a look at is again, our capital improvement process and how we drive revenue in the town. Is there an opportunity to bring more businesses back in to help lower some of these costs by offsetting the business taxes?
Thank you. Chuck?
Just repeat the question.
If you think the budget should be lowered, how would you do it?
Try to work with all the people on the board, try to work with all the unit leaders, all the people that work, in the town. Find out where we can cut, how we can cut it. The biggest thing is like I said, you can't cut everything all at once, because then the town's not going to run. So the biggest thing is try to figure out where you can cut from. I mean, that's to me, that's the biggest thing, and work with everybody on the board.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I absolutely think we need to reduce spending. Surprise, surprise. How we do that is twofold. One, we need to force our budget, our board of selectmen need to force our town manager and our department heads to provide full information to the budget committee for review. This year's budget process was a complete waste of time. There was no review of anything. Everything was rammed through quickly. Department heads were brought to one meeting, quickly reviewed their budgets, and the Board of Selectmen voted for them, passed them along to the Budget Committee. Budget Committee rubber stamped them without much discussion, without any information other than summary level information, and the whole process was a farce. So we need to establish an effective process. I think there are members here tonight that are on the Budget Committee that claim they have great plans to do better things on budget, but didn't do any of those things last year. Made zero cuts to anything, made zero questions to most. That's unfortunate.
Thank you, Ryan. Jay?
So one of the things I'd look at, and it's not an easy thing to bring up, but it's insurance. Insurance premiums have skyrocketed. Can we, as a board and work with the town manager, go out and look to see, are there any opportunities for us to look for a better deal? Or really make the hard decision of, do we ask our employees to pay a little more? Because right now it's an 85-15 split. But with the increases in insurance, that's where I see the biggest opportunity. Other things that we look at, though, is, paving always gets pushed aside because of other items that come up, like plowing. So this past winter. So sometimes they drive our budget up and down. But one of the things that I want to look at with the board is to look at insurance over the next year.
Thank you, Jay. Next question, and we'll start with Larry. What do you believe the major issue facing the board that you're running for election to is in the next coming year?
The major issue is transparency. I think some of the individuals up here spoke to this, but when we get the budget, it's a line item with no detail. It's lacking a lot of substance and lacking a lot of opportunity to have discussions around what the expenditure is, what does it mean, what are the alternatives that you've looked at and for consideration, and if we did not approve this budget item, what would be the impact? And I think that's really, there's a lot of need for reduction in budget, but nobody really has identified what and what services we cut and where we're going to get hit. Ultimately, yes, it is a bottom line budget. But, some of these implications are, we don't have enough staffing for the fire department, which could lead to a loss of a home. If we don't have the adequate staffing for law enforcement, we may have more issues with crime. So, it's where do you take it from? And I think working with the function heads and department heads and the town manager and the board of selectmen to provide that transparency.
Thank you, Larry. Chuck?
Yeah, just to work with the department heads. I don't know really where to cut. It's tough to figure out where to cut. It's tough to cut. Where like you say, where do you cut? But you got to get everything up front first. I mean, when I was on the 2014 budget committee, I thought we had adequate stuff from each department. Listening to Ryan this year, we didn't. So maybe we can have it this year where we can work with individuals and have the individual department heads come up, give us our budget, give it what their line is, and then we'll work with that and try cutting it from there. It's the only thing you can do is we didn't work with everybody on the board, have good conversations with all the board members too.
Thank you, Chuck. Ryan?
Yeah, there was no desire from the town manager, the department heads, or the board of selectmen to provide transparency throughout this process. In witnessing that, I submitted, 25 right to know requests. A few have been responded, most recently like a week and a half ago, after being submitted several months ago. All of those submissions were submitted in order to get information to provide to the budget committee so that they could ask appropriate questions. They weren't for me. They were to provide to others. And, our town manager and our board didn't care about the right to know request and didn't respond. Our town manager also put forth that each town department creates a spreadsheet with all the detail we need and submits it to them. I RTK'd that. I was never provided that. Said it in an open meeting. We don't have people in place that are willing to be transparent and provide the information to the public for the public's review. They just want to do what they want to do and rubber stamp it through the process.
Thank you. Jay?
Yeah, so over the last year and through the budget committee process, there was some angst about transparency. So my goal this year is to work with our selectmen and the town manager, if reelected, to bring a little more transparency to the budget, adjust some of the line items so that, staff is easily accessible through those budget line items. And provide more detail around specific line items and be able to turn around and pull information out of our finance system that we'll be able to provide to the budget committee, the board of selectmen, and have available for residents. So.
Thank you. David?
So the question was, what's the major issue? And that's if the budget is going up, in my view, that's what it is. And, my role in looking at that major issue is saying, okay, I want to know what we're spending our money on, what's going up, and why is it going up, and what are we doing about it? And that speaks to kind of what everybody else has said, transparency. I'll use the word granularity. I want to know a little bit more detail about why these things are going up, what percentage of the budget they are. And back to what I said before, benchmarking. Are we paying a lot more or a lot less than other communities for the same service? And if so, why? Thank you.
Thank you. And before we start the next question round with Chuck, I want to remind those here, if you have a question for this panel, you need to fill out a card, give it to my assistant. He'll hand it to me and we'll cover it. I don't have any cards yet. Chuck, your question. What is your goal for the coming year for the board you're running for? Do you have a goal?
Like cut the budget. That's the biggest thing. Try to see if we can cut the budget. I mean, it's like I said, like I've been saying all the time. Try to figure out where you can cut the budget. I mean, the town as small as it is, we got to figure out where to cut the budget. That's basically all it is, and work with everybody so we can cut the budget fairly, not having to get rid of jobs, but try to cut the budget.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I think the goal, if I'm elected, is to join other conservatives on the board and hopefully start getting some respect within the board and within the town in order to get the information needed to accurately review things. Also, I think this isn't just a budget cutting exercise. This is also ensuring or making suggestions as to how we can recover revenues further. For instance, probably won't be popular, but we have a recreation program that charges for summer use. It's $165 a week. That probably needs to be updated. If it were doubled, the rec department would be a net zero cost to the town. I think that's a good goal. On our ALS, our ambulance service, we have hundreds of thousands of dollars that have been unrecovered. I don't know if we're actually chasing it. If we have an active process to recover that, or at least a portion of it, but we should be recovering that.
Thank you. Jay?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What is your goal in the coming year for the board that you would be reelected to?
So one of the goals I have for the coming year on the select board is to continue to work with my fellow selectmen. But a couple things I want to see change is more transparency within the budget. I know I mentioned that already. But also we have a trash contract that we're working through. We have this not safe, I was going to say safe routes to school, traffic calming that is ongoing. So there is some stuff in town that I want to, get more involved with and continue to stay involved with and see these things through. So,
thank you. David?
So I'm interested in, my goal is to provide adequate governance and be an advocate for the people of Plaistow, both in terms of making sure they're getting the services they want, but also in terms of making sure we're not overpaying for those services. And one of my other goals is the big thing that stands out to me as an investor with that background is the town owns a lot of property. I'd like to understand why we own this property, what it does for us, and do we need it? Can we monetize it to everyone's benefit? Can we reduce our costs, or do we have it for a good reason and we should keep it? So those are my two big goals.
Thank you. Larry?
My biggest goal is the operating model. I think we've kind of taken a shotgun approach this last year and rushed through the budgets. There should have been more budget committee meetings, more opportunities for the constituents to come speak and have a say. When we have these meetings, only one or two people show up. So getting more people involved and understand what's actually the value of their time, because it is their tax dollar. We are a check and balance opportunity to the taxpayer, and having open discussions, driving those metadata, metrics and key performance levels. Jay mentioned the trash. I don't know how many times my trash barrel has been thrown in the road by that automated arm, or they blow by my house. Like, is there a penalty for them not coming and doing their job? So looking for opportunities there with the department heads. That must
Probably
be the
the
trash
snow
truck.
blower. My car's over there. You can clean it out. Richard's going to go out and take care of that. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. Well, wait a second.
Sounds like a leaf blower.
Sounds like.
Leaf blower.
Wants to keep the emergency exit open. I know, that's okay. We appreciate that.
Safety.
So this is just for the budget candidates. Sorry, Jay, that you're not on this one. The question asked by the citizen that phoned in and emailed in is, do you think the size of the budget committee should be reduced? Do you think the budget committee should be reduced? We'll start with Ryan.
I mean, I don't think it really matters the number on the budget committee. I think what matters is having adequate information to actually review and make substantive or produce substantive questions and review substantive data to understand and direct results. Whether it's, I don't even know how many people are on it now. It doesn't matter to me. I think that the people on the committee, regardless of whatever their agenda is, need to respect the process and work through the process. And if that means being part of some substantive discussions that may not be important to them, but are important to others on the committee, then I think that they need to allow those discussions to happen instead of trying to shut them down, which is what happened this year. All that happened was constantly trying to shut things down, go to vote, rubber stamp it, and move forward. That's unfortunate.
Thank you. We'll go back to David.
Can you repeat the question,
Should
please?
the budget committee be reduced? Is it too big?
So if we were a big city and it was a salaried position, that would definitely be something you want to look at. But because we're, mostly volunteering our time, I think it's a good thing to have a lot of eyeballs on a complicated budget, a complicated situation, especially where there's not a lot of granularity. I think you need a lot of perspective. So at this point, I wouldn't be in favor of it, but I'm open to other perspectives and might change that opinion given time.
Thank you. Larry?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I do think there's an opportunity to have more of the constituents say represented when there's a larger voting group, but also the efficiency around that. There's a lot of roadblocks with Robert's Rules of Order, and having open dialogue is sometimes a tough thing to do in a large room, or there's a certain amount of folks that continue to drive conversation but not listen to other perspectives. So it's a double-edged sword, but I think to answer the question, I would be in favor of reducing it.
Thank you. Chuck?
I don't think I would keep it the same. I wouldn't reduce it. I think it's the more people you have, the more, like they said, more people, more eyes, more questions to be asked. If you cut the board, you get less questions from the people. If you bring it down to 5, you got 5 people asking questions. I think it's 7 or 8 now, or 9 or somewhere into there. I think it's more, you get more questions asked by the board rather than shrinking it and not getting the right questions asked.
Thank you. Next round, we're going to start with Jay, and it's, do you think you're going to bring any proposed changes to the board that you're seeking election to in the coming year? Any proposed changes to the board you're seeking election to in the coming year?
Yeah, a few things that I want to work on this coming year is, like I mentioned before, some transparency, some changes to how the budget's presented, maybe start the budget process a little bit sooner, and be able to work with our budget committee to, be able to monitor it potentially throughout the year. This is done in other towns, so this isn't anything that's out of the ordinary. Other things I'd like to try to accomplish this year, let's see. Define a couple of different processes around right to knows to make that a little bit easier on our staff. When we get inundated with right to know requests, it does take time and effort and resources to provide this information. So if we can change some of our processes a little bit and make the information a little more available, it will lessen the blow on our staff and allow them to do the things that they need to do and not focus on these right to know requests constantly. So if we can change some different processes to make things a little easier for everybody, that's what I want to try to do this year.
Thank you. David?
I'd basically like to listen to all the different perspectives and meet with different stakeholders and listen to what they have to say, because I'm fairly new to the town. This is my first time running for a town position, and I think it's going to be very important just to listen to everybody and understand the different views. I've just gotten so much out of this and hearing from the more experienced people, and that would be what I would do.
Thank you.
I think my proposed changes would be around the frequency of meetings, ensuring that we are appropriately staffed for those meetings and those who are required, like the town manager, are present at that time. We've had a lot of meetings over the last year where we shouldn't have had them because the people that needed to provide the information weren't there, and we were given packets of information to read but couldn't ask any questions. I also think it's important to have updated operating models, and some of the procedures haven't been updated in accordance to the new RSAs and changes. So taking a look at those opportunities, understanding what's changed on the state level and how are we aligned with those state laws now.
Thank you. Chuck?
Should we repeat that question just
What do you
one more
think
time?
you're going to bring new to the board if you get reelected?
Phew. I think if listening to some of the people that were on board last year, maybe start the budget season earlier instead of, I don't know when they started. Now, I don't know. I think that'd be one of the biggest changes we could try to do, is to change the time and have more time with the budget, more time with the people, and try to schedule, like I said, try to schedule all the department heads earlier and whatever. That'd be the only change I'd try to do.
Thank you, Chuck. Ryan?
Yeah, I think the process was simply purposefully rushed through. I think it wasn't given the time and the respect that it is designed to do. It wasn't representative of a democratic process, and that was by design by those in charge. I think we need to hold those people accountable. Our town manager should show up at every meeting as required. If he can't show up, reschedule it. If we have budget committee members that can't show up for whatever reason, if they're not there over a long period of time, that needs to change. We need to replace them with somebody that can show up, regardless of how you feel, what the reason is, etc. If you can't show up, then replace them. We need to have transparency. We speak to this constantly. We don't have it, and we need to make a substantive change. Next year, I think we need to go back to a town administrator model as opposed to a town manager, and put more focus on the Board of Selectmen and have them more involved in the day-to-day running of the town. Right now, that's been delegated to someone not doing it effectively.
Thank you, Ryan. And I was going to say I didn't have any questions from the audience, but I see I'm going to get one. So stalling for a moment. Now everybody will know it's Robert's question. So blame him, don't blame me. And while he's writing it out, I want to remind the audience and those here, election is March 10th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., not 8, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at Plaistow Fish and Game. And at 7 o'clock, those of us in the election booth could use some people to help count the ballots. I mentioned it at the Board of Selectmen the other night. We're probably going to have about 6,000 or more pieces of paper to count one at a time. So the more people we have to count, the quicker we can count up to 6,000 or 7,000 or 8,000. So if you want to help, just show up a little after 7 p.m. and hopefully more of you that show up, the quicker it'll be to count the ballots. Why do we count the ballots? Because we try to make sure that the number of ballots that the machines say were cast were the actual number that was cast. We have a triple verification. One is the machine, the other one is the ballot clerks. When you check in, we goes those numbers, and then the actual ballot. So it's a three-way verification to make sure your vote has been counted and not lost. So we could use your help there. So this question from, we're going to keep them secret. Some of you are running for multiple positions. He's wondering, do you have time if you do get elected to all those positions? Would you give one up? Would you just stay with one? Or would you then try to serve on all the positions? Poor Jay, I think this is not your question because you're not running for multiple offices, are you? No. So,
But I do go to multiple committees, so.
as the select board member. So we'll start with David.
I'm only running for one position, but I think it's an equally valid question, you know, because you really shouldn't run if you don't have the time to do it. And we all have a lot of competing demands in life for sure, but I wouldn't run for it if I didn't think I had adequate time to put in it and understand what's going on.
Thanks, Larry.
So I am running for multiple positions. The decision to run for school budget committee came upon me about 30 minutes before the meeting started tonight. The answer would be I have the time. I work from home. I have a lot of obligations with my children. I coach a lot of sporting events. I help out in the community. So it's balancing. I'm probably the youngest on the board, maybe. So right, I've got a lot of energy. I balance a lot in my life anyways. And so, but if I had to give a position up for one or the other, yes, I would make that decision if need be.
Thank you. Chuck?
I'm only running for one, but if I was running for two, I am retired. So I would have time to run or do both.
Thank you, Chuck. Ryan?
I'm running for three and currently serve on one, so that's four. One of those, the ZBA, doesn't meet very often. I think it's met twice since I've been appointed to that. Doesn't take up a lot of my time. The two, school board and school budget. I don't believe I can serve in both capacities. So right now I'm running unopposed for school budget, so I will be on that if I don't win school board. And if I win both, then I'll have to make a decision there. As far as the town budget, I review this stuff to my detriment anyway, regardless of whether I'm involved in the town budget or not. And so it's not an additional amount of time. It's more trying to drive the actual process to occur effectively. And I will be screaming at that board if we're not getting the information that we need, and probably being very disruptive. So we need to effectively review our town's finances. And I have the capacity to do it all. I don't go half measures. I go all in. So I also work from home, have some flexibility, work for myself. And if I'm elected, it'll take some time away from home. And that might displease my wife. She doesn't want me to get elected. She's probably not voting for me. So thank you.
Thank you. And now it's time for the closing statements. And we're going to start with Jay and then go to his right down to David. You have 1 minute for your closing statement. Jay?
I just wanted to thank everyone for being here tonight. I appreciate your vote next Tuesday. I do want to take an opportunity right now to thank John Sherman, who is my father-in-law. He served this town for many years as a selectman, as a budget committee representative, and many other boards. This was his last year on the budget committee, and he's not seeking any other re-election. So I just want to thank him. He was a mentor. He was a mentor to many people. I just want to thank him publicly for his service. So thank you.
Thank you. How about a round for John? Mr. Jones. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm running because I believe Plaistow and Timberlane need to take a hard look at how we spend, how we budget, and how our decisions affect the people who are struggling the most. I've spent my entire career managing complex projects, controlling costs, and making sure every dollar is accounted for. That experience matters when we're talking about the future of our town and our schools. This isn't about politics for me, it's about responsibility. It's about families who are quietly drowning under rising costs while others barely notice the impact. It's about making sure Plaistow remains a place where people can afford to live, raise their families, and retire with dignity. My wife Julie and I have made fantastic friendships here, and I want to do my part to ensure Plaistow is strong and sustainable for everyone, not just those who can weather constant property tax increases. I'm asking for your support so that we can bring a more disciplined, thoughtful approach to spending and help protect the residents who need it most. That's why I speak up. That's why I run. The spending trajectory must change. Costs must be reduced. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Mine's simple and quick. I'm running for 1 year budget. I appreciate your vote, and I want to thank you all for coming out and this lovely weather we're having.
Good Chuck. Larry?
Like I said earlier, I've been in risk management for about 20 years. I've overseen enterprise projects from Switzerland all the way back here to the States, right? And looking at perspective and working with folks from other cultures and other nations allows me to have open dialogues, to collaborate, and to bring different perspective to the table. The only way we're going to make change is having effective communications, not being crass with each other, not targeting each other, but having open, respectful dialogue. That's what I'm about. I care deeply about this community. I might not have been here very long. My wife's family ran Sawyer's for many years, so I do have roots here. I just married into them. At the end of the day, I did get to see how the sausage was made, and there is a necessary change that needs to happen on Budget Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
Thank you to everybody watching. There's a lot of things you could be doing, but instead you're caring for your town. And thank you especially to those of you who came out tonight on a snowy night. A lot of other things you could be doing. You guys are the brave ones. Thank you for doing that. You care about your town, and that's why it would be such an honor to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Bob Harb. As you know, or you can tell, I'm your town moderator, also your state rep. I want to take a moment to thank the library trustees for doing this every year. It's a great opportunity. Let's thank this round of candidates. We appreciate them coming out tonight. That concludes tonight's debate, and I hope I'm going to see all of you and more of you at the elections on March 10th. Thank you very much. Drive safe home. Thank you.
From your host to John's here.